Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today we're going to discuss legendary items. Now they've been talking about these quite a bit in the dev streams, answering questions about them ever since they released the 0.8.4 and beyond forum post that said that legendary items will for sure be coming in 8.4, which got us all excited because we have been waiting for legendaries for a very long time. Now we have a man inside of the forum post that likes to put them together with every detail and everything we know about that, and that person is Andrew Tilley. So a big handout to Andrew Tilley for collecting all of this information and putting it into one spot so that we can read through it, have all of the questions, all of the answers, and basically find out everything that we know so far about legendary items. So be sure to give him a like on the post. It will be linked below in the description. So in this post it says, I've collected all the information I could find about legendary items, placed it within this post, and as more information becomes available about legendaries, I'll be sure to add it here. At least until its own dedicated developer blog is released, which hopefully we should be getting sometime in probably the next month. If I've missed anything, please let me know and I'll be sure to include it. You've also created similar builds for the following dungeons and crafting updates, and both of those we'll do a video on in the future. Here's what we were told about legendary items in the 0.8.4 and beyond developer blog. And in that they said legendary items and the Eternity Cache are a major feature of 8.4. Since announcing these features all the way back in 2018, we've iterated on their design a lot internally to ensure they enhance last epoch's itemization by providing great endgame chase and make item drops more exciting. And if you think about that, the reason they've changed so many times is, one, they probably just weren't completely happy with it, but there's also been many other things that came to the game. When they first probably thought up of legendaries, exalted items weren't a thing. So something like exalted items coming into the game, the fact that uniques have changed however many times that they've been iterated and changed to where they're more powerful than they ever were before, makes it to where legendaries, we're going to have to go a step beyond that even more. So you can imagine how many times they've changed over the last couple of years as the game has progressed and became better and better. We're not ready to announce exactly how legendary items work or how the Eternity Cache factors into their acquisition, but hold on to your exalted items that have good affixes. You'll want them. And this is what brought a lot of us to believe that the Eternity Cache, legendary items, they are tied together, and we're hoping, and hopefully some of the questions down below will answer this a little bit better so we can have a more general idea of how it works. But it seems like you're going to be taking good affixes off of your exalted items or somehow transmuting them onto a legendary item and making that legendary item that already has some affixes or some sort of unique ability that nothing else has, and then giving it some of your good exalted affixes. That's how we think it's going to work so far. But let's go ahead and go through some of these questions and see if we can make it any clearer or have, better guesses of what it could be. Since then, Mike has answered various questions pertaining to legendary items during the dev streams. I've gathered all these below, transcribing them to the best of my ability, but I've also provided links if the dev stream is accessible on their YouTube channel, or timestamps if the video is still only accessible on Twitch. For all the content, if you'd rather watch Mike answer them, and if you haven't known already, they do their dev streams every Friday, and then those stay as VODs on the Twitch channel for about 2 weeks, and then they transfer them over to YouTube so that you can watch them later. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the first question. What color will legendaries be? So right now they're not ready to reveal it, but they did say that there are only so many gaps in the color palettes available that still provide contrast and stand out enough so you can probably narrow down the search yourselves pretty close. I think it's unlikely that we change other existing colors to make room for it, so we did have a color picked out like forever ago when we first started, and it's likely to be something very similar, but it might get a little hue shift. So I set up a quick thing here to see the colors that we currently have in the game versus what colors we have on the palette so that we'd be able to see if we could, narrow it down like they say we could to see what color it is. For me personally, I think it's going to be some form of a red. So over here you can see we have a unique, we have a set item, we have an exalted item, we have a common, a magic item, a rare item, and an idol. So you can see green right off the bottom list, that's set, so that's kind of canceled out. We have idol colors, those are canceled out. Blue is magic items, those are canceled out. Or pinkish / purple or exalted items, so these are kind of canceled out. Red, there's no red. Oranges are unique, yellow is going to be our rare, and then we have common, which is white, which really just leaves red. That's really the only color that's left. So I would assume that red, which doesn't have very many hues related to it will be some sort of color around in this area. So I definitely think that red will be the color, but that's just me based on what we were just told and what I see here. Question number 2. Is the only way to get legendaries from the Eternity cache? And the answer to this one, it is complicated. So the question is, was this just a way to elude a yes or no answer, or is it actually going to be many different ways to get legendary items, and some of them or all of them being a complicated path? Hopefully it's not too hard to understand, hopefully it's very straightforward, and hopefully it's a fun process, not something that's super hard to do. Of course, a grind doesn't hurt anything either. Question number 3, will the release of legendary items impact the rarity of most uniques, particularly monolith locked ones? And the answer to this was there will be implications for uniques based on legendaries. I can't say exactly what those implications are. The rarity of dropping them won't change, but getting exactly what you want out of a unique will change. So this part kind of confused me a little bit. Right now, uniques are not something that you have any say over. A unique is a unique. It has its own RNG rules, it has a range, but you do not get to choose what is on it or how, you have no ability to change that. So I'm kind of curious here if they say that getting exactly what you want out of a unique will change, if there's going to be some sort of way that we can now manipulate a unique to be changed a little bit, whether it be with affixes or with base implicits or whatnot. Hopefully we have a little bit more control over that, but we'll have to see. Maybe I've just read the sentence wrong. Question number 4. Will legendaries have unique qualities other than just uber affixed stat power? Oh yes, they definitely will. Every legendary, there might be an exception to that. The vast majority of legendaries, possibly every legendary, will have some sort of unique, non-just straight affix. So this makes me very interested in legendaries because it's not only going to be a more powerful, you could say unique or a more powerful exalted item, they're going to have a unique attribute to it, which is going to make them fun. Now here's the thing that really gets me. They've said before that there's going to be way more legendaries, a much bigger number than we could think of. So I'm curious just how many of these unique abilities or passives or affixes are going to be in the game, and how this will change the game as we know it, because having that many new possibilities come into the game is huge. Question number 5, what's the next thing you're most excited for the community to see in this patch? The answer to that was I think people are going to be a little shocked at what legendaries are going to be as well, in a good way, in a very good way. Legendaries are the answer to a few questions we've had about a couple of systems where people have asked, like, oh, this seems out of place, this just seems useless. What are you going to do about this? And this is what we are going to do about that, so I'm really excited about that. I thought about this one for quite a while. The only thing that I can really think of is time rifts. Time rifts are just one of those things that eventually as you go through, they get like less and less useful. I think the final time rift doesn't even really have anything in it. There's no idle drops, no rewards, nothing for really doing it. There's uniques that you can get from like the final boss. I think it's 𝐁𝐻's Petal that you get there. But other than that, they've just kind of seemed like a dead end. I have a feeling time rifts are something that might be tied into this a little bit. I was thinking of other things, and the only thing I could, other than time rifts, was that we have some hidden places, some areas where you go through a door and it's just a dead end. It's not used in the campaign, it's not used in the quest. So I'm curious if some of those secret areas are also going to be tied into this. But those were really the only things that I can think of so far in the game that are something that people would think are useless or just don't fit in very well. Question number 6. How many bee-related legendaries are there? The answer? 2. 2 that I know of off the top of my head, Mike says. Question number 7. How many legendary items are coming next patch? And this, like I just mentioned a little bit ago, the answer is a lot. I don't know the exact number, but it's big. It's really big. It's way more than you think. Whatever number you think it is, it's almost for sure more. And this is what's got me. If they have that many legendaries coming, and each one has its own unique attribute, it's going to be crazy. The possibilities could almost be endless. Question number 7. Previously, your philosophy on legendaries was about 1 per build, with the majority of your gear still being crafted. With the legendaries coming, is this still the case? Like a setup of 1 legendary, a couple of unique or set items, and the rest being crafted? The answer was a lot has changed since you've said that. I know, just drop that and move on, right? And that's kind of all we got out of it. But basically, If you have an item that's very, very powerful, I would assume you're going to want more than one of them to be on your character. However, it could be very hard to do that depending on how hard it ends up being to get these legendaries. Question 8, any more you can reveal about legendaries? What's the difference from uniques? The answer, they do cool stuff and they hit real hard. Some uniques do that as well, but I assume that just means that they're going to do even cooler stuff and that they're going to hit even harder. Will legendaries be class specific, or can I use them for multiple classes? This is a little bit of column A and column B. There will be some class specific legendaries and some will not be class specific. So it looks like some of them may be very, very powerful indeed, in which they might have some sort of attribute on them that wouldn't be balanced if other classes were able to use it. So we're going to have some class specific ones and some non-class specific ones. Alright, next question, and this one is a bit of a longer answer. What is the high-level design goals for legendary items? High-level design goals for legendary items would be something to strive for, something where you know there's these high-level, really powerful items that you can deterministically get. Like, given some sort of, okay, deterministically is possibly a misleading thing there, but where you have some agency over how legendaries you're getting so you can target certain legendaries. That's really important. Having them be less reliant on just here's an individual drop, something so that you're less relevant on a single individual drop to get this really amazing item. Legendary items are what you're striving for, they're what you're pushing for, they're really, really good. However, in order to make something like that powerful and that good, we need to have some kind of, it either ends up being one drop, it's okay, you get that 1 in a billion drop and oh my god, you're suddenly 0 to 60 rich type thing. While it's really great to have these drops, we've made legendaries items a bit more important in terms of itemization in general, so it's important to be able to have a little bit of control over which ones you're getting and be able to work towards them in pieces. A really good example of this is the Pandemonium event in Diablo 2. In the Pandemonium event, you can find keys that are rare drops from specific mini-bosses, and you can combine those keys together to access some very different bosses that then drop organs, which you can then combine together to fight the hardest content in the game. In the stepping stone moments, once you've found the pieces that drop, then you can combine them together to make the thing that's really good, and you have a little bit of control over it. So what I assume this means is you're going to find, this is my guess, exalted items with good affixes, so it takes some time, you have some random drops, you get some exalted items with good affixes, and then there's going to be a way to kind of put those together, and not deterministically, but to have some control over what kind of legendary you're going to get based on those exalted items. That's my guess at this point on how that's going to go into your deterministically, or into having some control over it. This is going to be a little bit of that to the game, so you're completing specific events to combine these things together in such a way that you're creating a better item. Yeah, I guess those are high-level goals for it. My main question at this point is, once you have created a legendary, do you continue to be able to alter it with more exalteds, or however it is that you created it in the first place? So I'm thinking that once a legendary is made that you're done, but it is kind of weird that you're combining things in a way that you can create a better and better and better item. Next question, what is the maximum amount of affixes a legendary I can have? Absolute maximum 10 to 12. You think there's an edge case where it can be 12, but it's such a misleading question, which is why I'm happy to answer it. You're not going to get 12 on one of them. I'll tell you that right now, it's not going to happen. It's got basically the same chance of happening as having 4 tier 7 affixes on an item. That's just not going to happen. You're lucky to get 2. Very, very lucky to get 2. The drop rate's just incredibly insane low. And he does go on below, and then in some of the comments below to kind of correct this, 12 is the maximum and 3 is the minimum, and I think he said you purposely, intentionally have to try and get the 3, and there's only one legendary that can do that. But it sounds like for the most part you're going to be somewhere between like 4 and 10, or in that kind of area of affixes. As we scroll down, will there be any restrictions on how many legendaries you will be able to equip? As of right now, no. It is possible that could change, but as of right now, no. I will say that it will be extremely difficult to get the exact legendary you want, so you might find yourself really pushing for a specific legendary, but you just can't get it yet. It might take you a while to get the exact legendary you want. You may get legendaries that are close, but not quite right. There may be situations where you find a legendary and it's just not as good as the other things you can wear yet, so there's going to be a lot at play there. And this is the sentence that got me. There might also be situations where you find a legendary and it's just not as good as the other things that you can wear yet. So this makes me wonder, once you get a legendary, will you continue to be able to make it better? And that's what it sounds like you can do here. Question. So basically all those that want more than 4 affixes you are solving with legendaries. That's very nice to hear. Will the possibility to craft affixes as well as legendaries, or is it strictly a combination of different items being crafted in order to create one? And how many maximum items can you combine to make one legendary? So unfortunately, we do not get an answer for this because we're basically talking about how legendaries work, which kind of tells us that it's going to be one of these things. We've got a lot of assumptions in there. You don't want to rely too heavily on those assumptions either, but yeah, all will be revealed when legendaries are fully revealed and what will be the dev block for them. But basically, we've kind of already got to this point where we think it is going to be a combination of other things or putting things together, just like in his example with the organs and stuff. We think it's going to be that you take exalted items with those really powerful affixes that you like and you try and create an even better item with them called a legendary. Question, how are legendaries going to be different than uniques? They're definitely going to be more awesome, more rare, a different color, and you'll have more control over what they are. Like with uniques, you have no control over what stats they have at all. You have more control, and legendaries are at least more than 0. And then again above, they did say something as we went over about how uniques are possibly going to change a little bit on that front. Can we get a legendary color reveal leak? Nah, because it might change. It's not set in stone. And above, we already kind of guessed what that color would be. Showed you all the colors in the game. Still thinking it's going to be a very close to red color. Next question. Will we be able to drop legendaries next patch? That's a great question. Don't want to answer it. I don't know. You'll be able to get legendaries next patch. So whether we're going to be able to get them as drops or only create them, not 100% sure yet. Will legendaries be immutable at any point? Legendaries are immutable, yes. Oh, I shouldn't say that. There might be some way to change them. I can't remember if there's a way to change them at all. Can you change the base rules on uniques? I don't think you can. Yeah, they're immutable. So here's where I get a little bit of a change. Above, they said that there would almost be a way to make legendaries better as you got them, but now it sounds like you can just get better and better legendaries by making more of them or having better drops or however it is that you obtain them. It sounds like once you have a legendary, that's it. That's the legendary. It's done. Now that's what it sounds like. Question, will legendaries be desirable to have in every slot? The answer, I can see some builds wanting that, some builds not wanting that, kind of like uniques are right now or exalted items. Exalted items are just more powerful rares, so of course if you're crafting them you would always want more powerful affixes, you would go exalted. But some uniques, some builds thrive on having 3 or 4 uniques, some builds thrive on having no uniques. So I think legendaries are just kind of in that same boat where some builds will really kind of amplify their damage or amplify how they're played, having multiple of them if you have the right ones, and some builds may not use them at all. Anyways, that's going to wrap up everything that we know about legendaries so far. Again, thank you, Andrew Tilley, for making this post, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you know anything that wasn't covered here that has been factually stated by a dev officially, so that we can continue to dive in before we get the dev block here sometime in the future about exactly what legendaries are. Anyways, question for you guys, how excited are you for legendaries? And let me know in the comments below. As always, stay safe and have a good day.